The most seemingly innocent souls can carve out your heart without you even feeling the blade. They arrive cloaked in kindness, radiating affection, practically drowning you in charm. They mirror your soul in the beginning, echoing your laughter, absorbing your stories, becoming the comforting presence you always craved. But watch closely, because as days bleed into weeks, as their presence becomes a fixture, a shadow begins to flicker behind the facade, so subtle you almost dismiss it as a trick of the light. The warmth fades, replaced by a chilling draft, a weight that settles heavy on your chest. It's as if the mask slips, revealing something ancient and unsettling crawling beneath the surface. Before you can even scream, you're ensnared in an invisible net, a web spun from their subtle manipulations. They siphon your joy, destabilize your center, twist your perceptions until you question the very ground beneath your feet. Left unchecked, if you're not vigilant, armed, aware, you'll tumble into a vortex of confusion and pain. A wasteland where only strength, ferocious clarity, and unwavering self-possession can guide you back. Carl Jung, that voyager of the soul, navigated these murky waters and called it encountering the shadow. The dark passenger we all carry, that beast lurking in the undergrowth, yearning to claw its way into the light under the guise of pure intentions. And the signs, they whisper at first, barely audible, yet charged with immense power. A prickling unease, a nameless discomfort, a shift in your energetic field that throws your compass off course. Trust these whispers. They are the frantic smoke signals sent by your unconscious mind. Above all, learn to build your defenses, raise your shields, before the poison seeps too deep. Staying with me through this is not optional, but a mandate, a gift you give yourself. Your inner peace is worth defending like a dragon guarding its hoard, as it is the sharpest tool in your arsenal against predators of your mind. Energy, unlike deceptive smiles and honeyed words, is a raw, unfiltered truth. Listen to the dissonance. If someone triggers a knot in your stomach, a shiver down your spine, trust that primal alarm bell, even if their words are sweet as nectar. Have you ever felt the unsettling chill radiating from another's aura? Yes? Then shout a simple yes in the comments. Because chances are you already have. You meet a stranger, and on the surface, everything seems normal. But deep down, something clenches. A knot tightens in your belly. A hummingbird beats its wings frantically against your ribs. They did nothing wrong, said nothing offensive, behaved impeccably. Yet their eyes held a glint, their tone carried a discordant note. Their very presence invaded your space, leaving you with a residue of inexplicable unease. And this is where so many falter. They dismiss those primordial feelings, silencing their inner voice with a litany of justifications. I shouldn't judge a book by its cover. Maybe I'm projecting? I'm probably just being paranoid. After all, there's no concrete evidence, no tangible threat. But the ancient part of you, the ancestral guardian, already knows. Jung illuminated this intricate dance, explaining how our unconscious antennae pick up signals long before the conscious mind can decipher them. He called it the collective unconscious, a reservoir of inherited wisdom, passed down through generations, allowing us to sniff out danger before we can articulate it. Your intuition isn't some woo-woo magic trick or a sign of impending madness. It's a high-alert dispatch from the deepest trenches of your psyche. Allow me to share a sliver of my own story. Once, a cherished friend introduced me to a new acquaintance. Charming, soft-spoken, perpetually smiling, draped in a veneer of positivity. Yet something felt off. I couldn't name it. Just a persistent discomfort, a silent tension that coiled in my body. My stomach twisted, my chest constricted whenever they were near. Foolishly, I ignored it. How could I possibly accuse someone without evidence, without proof? But as weeks turned into months, the chilling truth unraveled. My intuition had been screaming all along. Behind the polished facade lurked a master manipulator. Their actions were calculated, their intentions far from the crystalline purity they projected. That's when the staggering force of energetic perception crashed over me. Energy is the ultimate truth serum, and we are our own worst enemies, choosing to ignore its desperate warnings. Had I heeded my instincts from the outset, I could have averted a cascade of agonizing situations, crippling emotional burdens, and devastating personal setbacks. Modern science echoes this ancient wisdom. Intuition is unconscious knowledge. Our brains possess the extraordinary ability to detect micro-expressions, tonal shifts, body language nuances, subliminal cues, elements that flit beneath the radar of conscious awareness, yet are meticulously logged at deeper cognitive levels. When you meet someone and a strange chord vibrates within you, it's not random. Your unconscious mind has flagged a pattern, a resonance with a past encounter, a shadow of danger lurking in the present. Perhaps it was a fleeting sneer, a counterfeit smile, a subtle dissonance between words and tone. But since your rational mind can't translate it into logical terms, you're left with that nebulous sensation we call intuition. And here lies the crucial pitfall. Most people disregard this internal alarm because they demand logical justification. It is a grave error, a gamble with your own emotional well-being. A question I'm frequently asked is this: how can I distinguish between genuine intuition and rampant paranoia? And it's a vital distinction to make. True intuition is a subtle hum, persistent and unwavering. It manifests calmly, a steady drumbeat of unease that intensifies with each encounter. It doesn't fade. It grows, a chilling crescendo. Paranoia, on the other hand, is a cacophony of chaos. Loud, erratic, emotionally volatile. You experience random bursts of suspicion directed at a multitude of people, your perceptions shifting with the wind. It's a reflection of inner turmoil, not a reliable warning signal. The unconscious understands before the conscious mind does, Jung so sagely observed. Those words are a compass pointing toward a treasure. So whenever you experience that indefinable emotional discord around someone, take heed. Don't casually dismiss it. That subtle unease may be the only guardian standing between you and a soul-crushing entanglement. And there is more, friends. Some don't just emit strange energy. They wield the power to drain yours, leaving you desiccated and hollow without you ever realizing it. These are the silent vampires, the ones who discreetly suck away your vitality, your clarity, your joy. The insidious part? They often appear utterly harmless, even alluring. For an eternity, I struggled to grasp why, after every interaction with a certain individual, even though no harsh words were exchanged, no arguments erupted, I always emerged feeling worse than before. No discernible tension, no visible conflict, nothing that could rationally account for the crushing emotional exhaustion that followed each encounter. But the feeling was palpable, undeniable. Every conversation felt like a slow, agonizing bloodletting. Slowly, the truth dawned. It wasn't the content of our conversations that was the issue. It was the insidious, invisible dynamic that underpinned them. Have you felt this way with someone? Write "drained" in the comments if you understand this experience. This person wasn't seeking genuine connection. They were subtly, almost imperceptibly, using the conversation as a conduit to siphon attention, focus, and my inner equilibrium. It wasn't a reciprocal exchange, a mutual dance of listening and presence. It was a monologue disguised as interest, a thinly veiled attempt to unload their burdens, their anxieties, their emotional baggage, expecting me to absorb it all like a psychic sponge. What masqueraded as normal conversation was, in reality, a constant demand for validation, attention, and emotional sustenance. And the most alarming aspect, their emotional weight insidiously transferred onto me, as if I were somehow responsible for carrying their burdens. Through this arduous process of observation and silent depletion, I came to understand one of the most perilous dynamics that can unfold between two people. The subtle, invisible erosion that occurs without aggression, without overt harm, leaving you hollowed out, one interaction at a time. Some inflict harm with venomous words or blatant acts of aggression. Others erode you incrementally, like water carving canyons through stone. They steal your light, your motivation, your clarity, until you feel like a mere shell of your former self, devoid of your own internal flame. Jung offered a vital insight into this insidious behavior. Those who refuse to acknowledge and integrate their own shadow, the repressed, unaccepted, unresolved aspects of their psyche, invariably project that darkness onto others. The anxiety, the emptiness, the inner turmoil they carry begins to leach into you. Without conscious awareness, you begin to feel like you're shouldering a burden that never belonged to you. There are specific signs that can serve as red flags, alerting you to the presence of an energetic vampire. The unrelenting centralization of conversations. Regardless of the initial topic, every discussion invariably pivots back to their problems. Complaining, frustrations, personal conflicts, they dominate the narrative. And tellingly, they never seek solutions, only a willing receptacle to absorb their emotional waste. Their reaction when you dare to set boundaries, express a need for solitude, an inability to be available, and a tsunami of guilt washes over you. They subtly paint you as selfish, as abandoning a soul in need. A cunning emotional manipulation that preys on your empathy and sense of responsibility. You begin to feel guilty for prioritizing your own well-being. The profound relief that washes over you when you finally escape their orbit. In the presence of genuinely meaningful connections, absence breeds longing. But with toxic individuals, distance brings liberation. If your body feels lighter, your mind clearer, your energy revitalized after extricating yourself, it's a screaming testament to the draining effect of their presence. In the majority of cases, this draining isn't driven by conscious malice. Many energetic vampires are utterly unaware of their parasitic behavior. They've simply never learned to confront their own inner emptiness. They've never grappled with their shadows, and lacking an internal source of light, they leech it from others. They feed off your emotional vitality because they lack the capacity to generate their own. And it is crucial to understand one immutable truth. You are not obligated to heal anyone. It is not your mission to rescue others from the pain they refuse to confront themselves. If someone is draining your life force, even if they occupy a close and cherished space in your heart, you are entitled to safeguard your emotional sanctuary and walk away. Failure to do so will inevitably lead to a state of chronic depletion where you lose touch with your boundaries, your needs, and ultimately, your sense of self. And that's merely the gateway to an even more perilous labyrinth. Because there exists an even more insidious layer to these toxic relationships. When the person not only drains your energy, but begins to warp your reality, making you doubt your own sanity. This is silent manipulation, a subtle form of control that doesn't manifest as overt aggression, but through carefully orchestrated actions and words that imperceptibly erode your inner trust. And its insidious nature lies in its lack of overt aggression. On the contrary, it often cloaks itself in concern, kindness, and even love. It hides in the nuances, the calm cadence of a voice, the seemingly innocent phrases, the subtle gestures. Phrases like, "You're overreacting, as always." "That never happened." "You're imagining things." "I never said that." "You misunderstood me." And gradually, insidiously, you begin to question your memory, your emotions, your own perceptions. This insidious pattern is known in psychology as gaslighting, a strategy designed to emotionally destabilize another person, compelling them to doubt their own sanity. Jung often said that everything we deny in ourselves, we project onto others. And this is precisely what these individuals do. They are unable to confront their own flaws, their own darkness, so they manipulate another's reality in order to maintain a semblance of control. One of the most devastating consequences of gaslighting is the gradual severing of your connection to your own truth. You begin to believe that you are perpetually wrong, that your perspective is inherently flawed, that you require external validation before trusting your own feelings or decisions, and this breeds crippling emotional dependence. The more you crave external approval, the more susceptible you become to manipulation. There are clear markers that signal the presence of perceptual manipulation, a constant shifting of the narrative. What they vehemently declared yesterday, they vehemently deny today. Events from the previous week are dismissed as figments of your imagination. And when you dare to challenge these contradictions, they twist the narrative, accusing you of being confused, forgetful, or prone to misinterpretation. The relentless invalidation of your emotions. When you express your feelings, you are immediately branded as dramatic, overly sensitive, or emotionally unstable. In their skewed version of reality, you are the problem. Systematic isolation. Gradually, insidiously, they begin to sever your ties with others, claiming that no one else understands you as deeply, that they are the sole individuals who truly grasp your situation. And thus you become increasingly reliant on their distorted lens of reality. A soul-crushing sign. After an interaction with this person, you emerge more disoriented than before. Clarity gives way to confusion, leaving you paralyzed with doubt, questioning the veracity of your own experiences. You begin to wonder if you're spiraling into madness, if you are indeed the perpetual source of error. The only path to liberation is to reclaim unwavering confidence in your own emotions. If something caused you pain, that pain is valid, boss. No one possesses the right to dictate how you should or should not feel. Fortify your support network. Seek counsel from trusted confidants. Compare your perceptions with those on the outside. Oftentimes, an objective observer can clearly discern what you, mired in the manipulation, are no longer capable of recognizing. If you detect a recurring pattern in your relationships, a tendency to believe you are the source of the problem, even when your instincts scream otherwise, it is imperative to undertake a profound period of introspection. Because someone who truly cherishes your well-being, who genuinely respects your inherent worth, would never weaponize their own insecurities to distort your perception of reality, to make you doubt your very self. And this leads us to one of the most harrowing aspects of these toxic interactions. There are those who not only manipulate your perceptions, but project their own festering emotional wounds onto you. They transfer their shadows, their fears, their traumas, their frustrations, their flaws directly onto your shoulders, compelling you to carry burdens that were never yours to bear. This type of manipulation operates with even greater stealth than gaslighting. Whereas gaslighting directly targets your self-assurance by undermining your perceptions, this insidious tactic subtly transforms you into a dumping ground for someone else's inner turmoil. Jung illuminated this psychological maneuver with profound clarity. According to his insights, every psychic element that a person refuses to acknowledge as part of themselves, their darker inclinations, their internal contradictions, their unresolved conflicts, is invariably projected onto others, and the chosen recipient is often someone close, someone emotionally receptive and empathetic. You might be labeled as selfish simply for establishing healthy boundaries. You might be accused of being cold and insensitive when, in truth, it is the other person who lacks the capacity to regulate their own emotions. You may find yourself accepting blame for actions that were not your responsibility, simply because someone refuses to accept accountability for their own transgressions. When someone consciously or unconsciously avoids confronting their inner demons, they require an external vessel to contain them. And that vessel often becomes you. Allow me to share an experience that left an indelible mark on my soul. I once encountered an individual who seemed to exist in a perpetual state of conflict with the world. A constant stream of complaints, a relentless parade of betrayals, an endless array of enemies. According to their narrative, the world was populated by selfish, deceptive, and manipulative beings. But over time, a troubling pattern emerged. They behaved in exactly the manner as those they so vehemently criticized. They belittled those who dared to disagree. They demanded unwavering loyalty while offering none in return. They craved support while never reciprocating it. And the most bewildering aspect, they eventually attempted to convince me that I was becoming just like those horrible people they so despised. They accused me of being uncaring, cold, and morphing into the very monsters they claimed to abhor. For a time, their manipulation began to take root. I questioned myself, tormented by self-doubt. Am I truly becoming selfish? Am I morphing into a worse version of myself? But then the realization shattered the illusion. They were desperately seeking a vessel to contain their own unacknowledged shadow. And when I finally refused to carry a guilt that was never mine, they distanced themselves. And predictably, they soon found another target for their projections. There are definitive methods for detecting when someone is projecting their shadow onto you. A crucial indicator is to meticulously monitor your internal state after an interaction. If you emerge feeling disoriented, emotionally burdened, weighed down by a discomfort that was not present before, ask yourself, does this truly belong to me? Or am I carrying someone else's baggage? Perpetual projectors never take responsibility. They invariably assume the mantle of victimhood in every narrative. They deflect blame, pointing fingers outward, never inward, compelling you to believe that you are somehow responsible for their misfortunes. The most potent defense is to cultivate the ability to discern what is rightfully yours and what is not. When faced with accusations, pause and reflect with brutal honesty. Is there a kernel of truth to the claim? If so, acknowledge it and embrace the opportunity for growth. But if it is unfounded, reject the weight. Establish firm boundaries. If you discern a pattern of persistent projection, someone consistently attempting to burden you with their unresolved issues, extricate yourself from their orbit. It is not your purpose to serve as a mirror for pain they refuse to confront, and there is an even more insidious dynamic at play. Some individuals not only project their own darkness onto you, they actively resent your very light. That's right. There are those who remain close, who appear to revel in your presence, who express affection and companionship, but who harbor a deep-seated discomfort in the face of your growth. They won't openly express their resentment. They won't launch direct assaults. But every time you soar, every time you expand, evolve, and improve, their energy subtly shifts. Initially, it's difficult to detect. Everything appears to be operating within the realm of normalcy. But gradually, the celebrations wane, the compliments become scarce. When you share your triumphs, their responses are muted, devoid of enthusiasm. Occasionally, they attempt to minimize your accomplishments, declaring it to be no big deal, or asserting that plenty of people have achieved that. And if you pay close attention, you'll realize that these reactions are not isolated incidents. They are a recurring pattern. Jung illuminated the insidious nature of envy, describing it as nothing more than a person's unacknowledged shadow. When someone hasn't confronted their own feelings of inadequacy, frustration, or comparative deficiencies, they are unable to bear witness to the triumphs of others. And the most treacherous aspect, these individuals are not distant adversaries. They are close confidants. They are family members. They are the people in your inner circle, smiling warmly, uttering kind words, yet silently seething at your success. I have personally experienced this phenomenon. A close friend, someone who had long professed support and camaraderie. But as I began to gain traction, to expand personally and professionally, their attitude began to transform. Every time I shared an achievement, their responses were laced with skepticism. When I spoke with excitement about a new project, they would interject with questions like, "Are you sure that's going to work? I think you're moving too fast. I'm not sure that market is for you." Initially, I attributed their comments to genuine concern, but over time, a distinct pattern emerged. It wasn't concern. It was thinly veiled discomfort, masquerading as unsolicited advice. Curiously, they displayed no such difficulty in celebrating the victories of others. They cheered on colleagues, showered acquaintances with congratulations. But when the spotlight shone on me, their enthusiasm evaporated. That's when the truth struck me. They couldn't bear my light. And this insidious phenomenon is far more prevalent than we realize. Envy doesn't always manifest as blatant hostility. It often arrives veiled in friendship, affection, and proximity. And that's precisely what makes it so treacherous, because it earns your trust. And trust opens the door to vulnerability. So, how can you discern when someone is silently resenting your growth? The answer lies in observing the subtle reactions. When you share a triumph and receive a blank stare or a discouraging remark in place of a genuine smile. When support is replaced by a litany of potential problems, a relentless highlighting of flaws, a sowing of seeds of self-doubt. When heartfelt compliments are supplanted by unsolicited advice designed to hold you back rather than propel you forward. And perhaps the most telling indicator, when these individuals, confronted with your continuous progress, begin to subtly withdraw, as if your luminescence is too intense for them to withstand. This is never a coincidence. The issue isn't that you're changing too drastically or becoming someone they can no longer relate to. The truth is, your radiant presence, the authentic glow you exude through growth and self-discovery, is disrupting the shadows that reside within certain individuals in your orbit. And this is inevitable. Jung posited that when someone refuses to acknowledge the darker facets of their being, their fears, their frustrations, their failures, they inevitably project those aspects onto others. And this is precisely what occurs when someone silently envies you. The most unsettling aspect is that these individuals are often completely oblivious to the grip of envy. They don't consciously identify as envious. They won't readily admit that their cold demeanor, distant gaze, or subtly sarcastic remarks stem from resentment. Instead of engaging in introspective examination, they channel that repressed energy outward, attempting to stifle the very individuals who are growing. And they execute these insidious acts through subtle, disguised maneuvers that don't immediately trigger alarm bells. These are phrases that masquerade as helpful advice, but are, in reality, disguised criticisms. Compliments that are lukewarm and laced with caveats. Smiles that flicker and fade the moment you turn away. If you're not vigilantly attentive, this subtle influence can begin to contaminate your inner landscape. Imperceptibly, you might begin to hinder your own progress, all in an attempt to avoid making others uncomfortable. And the most devastating outcome, you might begin to feel guilty for wanting more, for striving higher, for simply being more. You may ultimately dim your own light to avoid unsettling those who feel threatened by your brilliance. This is a palpable and exceptionally perilous risk for anyone embarking on a journey of self-actualization. So, how do you fortify yourself against this insidious energy? The answer does not lie in direct confrontation. You need not justify your worth or convince anyone that you are deserving of your achievements. You need not offer explanations or apologies for your inherent brilliance. You are not obligated to prove anything. The key lies in cultivating the discernment to recognize the warning signs and wisely extricate yourself. Surround yourself with individuals who genuinely celebrate your victories, who cheerlead your progress, who feel invigorated, not threatened, by your path. Those who truly cherish you have no need to compete with your luminescence. On the contrary, they feel emboldened to shine alongside you. But the most urgent warning is yet to come. There are people who not only feel envy, who not only project their fears, who not only distort your perception. There are people who harbor a destructive force that, if left unchecked, can lead to the collapse of not only your energy, but your entire emotional and mental stability. They are the chaotic vortexes, the individuals who, almost hypnotically, seem magnetic at first, who arrive with charisma, magnetism, and a captivating intensity. But behind that alluring exterior lies a chaotic maelstrom that slowly infiltrates the lives of others like a silent storm. These individuals don't arrive with blaring sirens or flashing warning signs. They often present themselves as kindred spirits, soulmates, or promising partners. There's an almost ethereal sense of connection. In the initial stages, everything feels electrifying. The conversations are profound. The time spent together is intoxicating. You feel as though you've stumbled upon someone extraordinary, someone truly exceptional. But inevitably, that intensity warps and mutates. What once felt like passionate connection devolves into relentless turbulence. Emotional depth transforms into a constant, exhausting drama. Minor issues explode into full-blown crises. Joy becomes a volatile cycle of euphoria and despair. And by the time you awaken to the truth, you are trapped in the eye of a storm of their making. Jung referred to these individuals as those utterly consumed by their shadow, those who are devoid of any conscious awareness of their inner turmoil and consequently inflicted upon everyone in their vicinity. Instead of confronting and resolving their internal wounds, they compulsively transfer them to those around them. It's as if they unconsciously recreate chaos wherever they go. And if you're caught in their orbit, you'll be dragged into the wreckage. I once crossed paths with such an individual. Initially, I felt as though I were in the presence of someone extraordinary, strong, intense, almost cinematically compelling. Their stories were captivating. Their life was a tapestry woven with dramatic events. The conversations were never superficial. There was always something intensely emotional, something gripping, something profound. And yes, in the beginning, I was utterly captivated. I felt drawn in, as though I were an active participant in a thrilling narrative. But as time marched on, the story became repetitive. There was always a new conflict brewing, a new betrayal unfolding, a new crisis looming. Their life was a relentless cycle of turbulence, devoid of stability and inner peace. And the most chilling revelation, I slowly realized that I was becoming a part of that instability. What initially felt like vibrant energy began to feel like pure exhaustion. What seemed like a deep connection turned out to be an emotionally draining game. What appeared to be authenticity unmasked itself as a series of manipulative ploys, fueled by endless drama, until the truth crashed over me. This person didn't want to escape the chaos. They were so inextricably bound to their confusion, their lack of control, that their entire identity was predicated on it. Chaos was their natural habitat, and by maintaining a connection to them, I was being sucked into their destructive vortex. The most telling sign that someone carries this brand of destructive energy is simple yet profound. Chaos follows them relentlessly. There's a staggering chasm between someone weathering a difficult season, something we all endure, and someone whose life is a perpetually unfolding sequence of turmoil and calamity. When you observe that this person is incapable of maintaining peace in any sphere of their existence, that their life is punctuated by ceaseless arguments, disappointments, scandals, or breakdowns, that's a blaring red flag. Scrutinize their past. Look for patterns. If every friendship culminates in betrayal, if every relationship implodes in drama, if every opportunity transforms into a catastrophe, if their interactions with everyone they've encountered are marred by turbulence, do not delude yourself into believing that you will be the exception. No one ever is. As Jung so eloquently stated, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. That's why these patterns relentlessly repeat, because the person refuses to, or is unable to, see what needs to transform within. And until that awakening occurs, they'll continue to replay the same destructive script, decimating everything and everyone they hold close. The most effective method for protecting yourself from such an individual is unambiguous and unequivocal. Do not attempt to save them. Resist the seductive allure of believing that things will be different with you. Dispel the illusion that your love, your patience, or your unwavering presence will possess the power to alter the very nature of someone who has chosen to reside in chaos. The only remedy is resolute distance. Defend your peace with the ferocity of a lioness guarding her cubs. Cultivate an environment of unwavering emotional stability around yourself. And above all, never allow anyone to erode it. Because if someone breeds disorder in every facet of their existence, it's only a matter of time before that same disorder spills over into yours. It's imperative to understand that not everyone who crosses your path will arrive with transparent intentions or demonstrably nefarious behavior. Some may never inflict direct aggression or engage in overt offenses. On the contrary, many arrive with disarming smiles, an aura of openness, even a facade of genuine caring. However, even unintentionally, even unconsciously, they can exert a profound influence on you, and that influence is not always positive. Some will slowly siphon away your vital energy like emotional sponges, and you won't detect it immediately. You'll simply begin to feel weary, listless, less compelled to pursue your passions. Others will operate with greater cunning and strategic precision. They manipulate with sweetness, with artfully chosen words, with gestures that appear innocuous, until one day you awaken to the chilling realization that you are doubting your very sanity. You can no longer place faith in your emotions, your decisions, your own perceptions. And this erosion didn't transpire overnight. It was a gradual dismantling, a slow deconstruction that began with seemingly harmless suggestions, subtle corrections, slight distortions of reality. And there are those who, instead of confronting their own inner demons, begin to unload their emotional refuse onto you. They project their fears, their guilt, their unresolved conflicts onto your unsuspecting shoulders. They manipulate you into positions where you begin to feel responsible for carrying burdens that were never yours to bear. The emotional weight they are incapable of handling is transferred onto you, and that weight drags you down, drains you, and wounds you deeply. And then there is an even more insidious, more subtle type, the individual who cannot bear witness to your growth. Have you ever experienced veiled envy from someone in your inner circle? Shout "I've felt it" in the comments below. They may have stood by your side for years. They may offer smiles, claim to celebrate your triumphs, but deep down, every time your light shines, they squirm with discomfort. Every step you take forward triggers unrest within them because your brilliance illuminates the shadows they have so meticulously concealed. And so, without uttering a single word, they will begin to undermine your self-confidence. They'll sow seeds of doubt. They'll devalue your achievements. They'll subtly withdraw when your life is flourishing and reappear when you're struggling because your success triggers their deepest insecurities. But among all these insidious profiles, there is one that poses the greatest threat: the individual who lives immersed in chaos. Someone who is devoid of inner peace, who is perpetually ensnared in crisis, emotional conflicts, and turmoil. And more than that, they actively seek companionship in their turbulent existence. They don't desire to escape the chaos. They crave company within it. They yearn to drag you into their maelstrom, into their confusion, into their unrelenting instability. Jung asserted that these individuals are so profoundly disconnected from their own conscious awareness that they transform the world around them into an extension of their own internal disorder. And if you are not vigilant, you could be pulled into their vortex before you even realize what is happening. That's why the pivotal element lies in cultivating a heightened sensitivity to the energies that surround you. It's not about succumbing to fear or isolating yourself from the world, nor is it about indiscriminately judging everyone in your path. It's about cultivating awareness, observing with greater acuity, heeding the whispers of your body, your intuition, and your emotions, because those signals often arrive long before your mind can rationalize them. If you commit to identifying these subtle cues, if you begin to take seriously the way certain individuals make you feel, you'll be equipped to protect yourself before it's too late. You'll establish boundaries before forfeiting your clarity. You'll conserve your energy before it's depleted. And most importantly, you'll avoid being pulled into emotional suffering that was never yours to endure. Defending your inner peace is not an act of selfishness. Saying no, walking away, choosing who remains in your life, these are not acts of coldness. They are expressions of emotional intelligence, hallmarks of self-respect. Trusting your intuition isn't being overly dramatic. It's an act of survival. You have the inalienable right and the profound responsibility to safeguard that which sustains you, your strength, your center, your wholeness. Because if you fail to nurture your peace, it will inevitably slip through your fingers. So tell me, are you ready to safeguard your peace? To shield yourself from the energies that siphon your vitality and dim your light? If you've journeyed this far, shout "I will protect my precious peace" in the comments below. I want to know that you have remained with me until the very end, contemplating these profound truths with an open mind and a receptive heart. If this message resonated with you, if it held value, smash the like button right now. It's a single click, it's free, and it amplifies this message, allowing it to reach countless others who yearn to hear it. And if you yearn to continue this odyssey of self-discovery, delving deeper into the intricacies of the human psyche, the power of energy, the dynamics of relationships, and everything that lies within the fascinating universe of Carl Jung, subscribe to this channel now and activate the notification bell. That way, you won't miss future videos, all crafted with high-quality content designed to fortify your awareness and elevate your emotional intelligence. I'm Matas, your mind philosopher, and I invite you to click on the next video I've curated right here on the screen. Let's continue traversing this path of growth together with profound depth and genuine connection. See you in the afterlife.